So, imagine you are holding a salami sandwich.
Okay, a salami sandwich.
Yeah, just like a normal, maybe slightly stale lunch. You take a bite, you chew it, you toss the wrapper out the window of your moving car, and you literally never think about it again.
Right. I mean, why would you?
Exactly. But then try to imagine that specific, half-eaten sandwich is about to cost you 10 years of your life in a maximum security prison.
Which is just wild to even think about.
Right. And it doesn't just put you in prison, it completely unravels a $100 million criminal enterprise.
It sounds like a bizarre hypothetical, honestly.
Yeah.
But that is the actual reality of modern forensic science.
Mm.
We're operating in this era where the margin of error for a criminal is, well, it's quite literally microscopic.
Which is exactly why we are doing this deep dive today. If you are listening to this, you've probably seen the Hollywood versions of high-stakes crimes.
Oh, sure. The screaming, the masks.
Yeah, the chaotic car chases where everything inevitably just falls apart. But today, we are looking at the exact opposite. We're looking at this global arms race between paramilitarized, highly disciplined jewel thieves who operate like ghosts, and the cutting-edge forensic investigators trying to catch them using, nothing more than a discarded skin cell.
Or a dropped burner phone.
Exactly. It's an insane contrast.
It really is a fascinating collision of two worlds. I mean, on one hand, you have this tactical precision that mirrors military special operations.
Yeah.
And on the other, you have the quiet, just unforgiving reality of a laboratory centrifuge.
So let's look at how this plays out in the real world. We'll start by taking you to the morning of October 19th, 2025.
Okay, setting the scene.
Paris. It's a crisp autumn morning, the city is waking up, commuters are grabbing espresso, and absolutely no one realizes a real-life thriller is about to unfold right at the Musée du Louvre.
The location alone there sets a massive precedent. I mean, you don't just walk into the Louvre.
No, definitely not.
The architectural and security footprint of that specific building is staggering.
You don't walk through the front door, no. But here is the first major tactical decision these individuals made. 4 people arrive near the exterior of the museum overlooking the River Seine.
Right.
And they aren't wearing, tactical black gear or ski masks. They are dressed in high-visibility construction jackets and hard hats.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they look exactly like municipal maintenance workers. Actually, one of the sources we reviewed, it was this sprawling Reddit thread analyzing the immediate aftermath of the heist.
I read that one, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a user who pointed out something so simple but true. It's proof that you can get in anywhere in a major city if you are just dressed as a construction worker carrying a clipboard.
There is a very real psychological concept at play there. Urban camouflage.
Urban camouflage.
Yeah, so if you put someone in tactical gear, the human brain registers a threat and adrenaline spikes instantly.
Right, people panic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you put someone in a high-vis vest, the brain actually filters them out as background noise. Ironically, by wearing the brightest colors possible, they became entirely invisible to all the pedestrians walking their dogs along the Seine.
That is wild. So they pull up in a flatbed truck. But this isn't just a transport vehicle. It has a heavy-duty hydraulic elevator platform mounted on the back.
Okay.
They park it, they engage the stabilizers, and they elevate themselves straight up the exterior stone wall to a second-floor window.
Just straight up the side of the Louvre.
Right up the side, specifically the window of the Galerie de Palau. For those who haven't been, this is the Louvre's legendary crown jewel gallery.
The highest value room.
Yes, it's where the most opulent, historically significant artifacts of the French monarchy are kept.
I'm curious about the logistics of that setup, though. Driving a heavy commercial flatbed truck onto a pedestrian-heavy perimeter in central Paris.
Yeah, it's not exactly subtle.
Right. Doing that without being intercepted by local police implies they must have had some sort of forged municipal work orders.
Oh, totally.
Or at least set up a very convincing perimeter of traffic cones to legitimize their presence.
The sources indicate they did exactly that. They set up this brief fake work zone, so the platform goes up, and this is where the speed factor suddenly just shifts into high gear.
Because now they're exposed.
Right. They use heavy-duty, battery-operated disc cutters. They don't try to, pick a lock.
No time for that.
Exactly. They simply shear through the reinforced glass of the gallery window. They step inside the Galerie d'Apollon, immediately threaten the unarmed gallery attendants to stay on the floor and just go to work.
And how long did this take?
In just 7 minutes, they smash open the display cases, extract the jewelry, descend back down the hydraulic lift, and jump onto high-performance motorbikes that an accomplice had left idling by the riverbank.
7 minutes.
They merge into the chaotic Paris traffic and just vanish. 7 minutes total.
Wow. 7 minutes to execute the physical extraction? Sure. But it takes months of logistical planning to ensure that 7-minute window actually holds.
Absolutely. And the haul was devastating. We're talking about 8 priceless pieces of royal jewelry. They took Empress Eugenie's emerald crown.
Oh, that piece is legendary.
Yeah, crafted in the 19th century for the wife of Emperor Napoleon III. It holds 1,354 diamonds and 56 massive emeralds.
Unbelievable.
They also grabbed Queen Maria Amelie's sapphire parure, which is a complete matching set, a tiara, a necklace, earrings, and brooches,
All of it.
all dripping in deep blue sapphires and brilliant cut diamonds. The total estimated value of the haul in those 7 minutes was over $100 million.
Just a staggering number.
Yeah.
But value, in the context of high-end art theft, it's a very complicated metric.
What do you mean?
Well, $100 million on an insurance appraisal does not equal $100 million in a duffel bag.
Right. And that actually brings up something I really struggled to understand when I was first reading through these case files.
Yeah.
They are in the Louvre.
Yeah.
They have disc cutters. They clearly have the ability to break glass and take whatever they want. Why on earth didn't they take the Mona Lisa? I mean, it is sitting right there. It is the most famous, most recognizable painting in the history of human civilization. Surely it's worth more than a sapphire necklace.
It's a highly logical question from a layperson's perspective, for sure.
Right.
But if you look at the mechanics of the criminal black market, stealing the Mona Lisa would be an amateur, catastrophic business decision
Wait, really? How does stealing the most famous painting make you an amateur?
because of the liquidity problem.
Okay, explain that.
Famous paintings are utterly unsellable. The moment a masterpiece like the Mona Lisa goes missing, you trigger an immediate, suffocating worldwide manhunt.
I guess that's true.
Every border crossing is watching for a canvas of that specific dimension. Every auction house, every private art dealer, every gallery owner is on high alert.
So you can't fence it.
Exactly. You cannot fence it. It offers absolutely zero black market liquidity. You are basically just stuck holding a highly radioactive piece of canvas in a basement.
Oh.
And unless you have, like, a billionaire supervillain who pre-commissioned the theft to hang in his secret submarine.
Right, which is just a movie trope.
Exactly. It's a movie trope, not reality. You just can't monetize a famous painting.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But why are jewels different? Aren't 19th century royal sapphires also highly recognizable?
They are, definitely.
Ugh.
While they remain intact. But jewels can be put through a process the black market calls slaughtering.
Slaughtering. God, that is a brutal term for jewelry.
It is, but it perfectly describes the mechanical destruction of history.
So what happens?
When stolen historical jewelry is extracted, it is immediately taken to an underground illicit lapidary.
Okay.
The precious metals, the intricate centuries-old gold and platinum settings, they are melted down in a crucible into completely untraceable bullion blocks.
But the settings are just gone.
Gone forever. And the gemstones themselves are pried out. But they don't just sell the loose stones, because large, famous diamonds have specific documented optical signatures.
Wait, like a fingerprint.
Exactly like a fingerprint.
Is that the way the light bounces inside the diamond?
Precisely. It's called the refraction index. Gemological institutes have exact 3D maps of the flaws and facets of major historical stones.
So if they try to sell it whole, someone would scan it and know.
Right. So the illicit lapidary recuts the stone. They put it on a grinding wheel, and they literally shave off facets, changing its carat weight, its shape, and its optical signature entirely.
That is heartbreaking.
It becomes a brand new, anonymous stone. It is then paired with forged paperwork, perhaps claiming it was just mined last week in Sierra Leone, and it is sold back into the legitimate diamond supply chain in places like Antwerp or Tel Aviv.
That is just devastating. So they are literally erasing the history of the object just to turn it into untraceable cash.
Exactly.
But let's circle back to the logistics of the Louvre for a second, because the sources we pulled highlight some security failures that I still cannot wrap my head around.
Yeah, the audit was pretty shocking.
How does the most famous museum on the planet let guys with a hydraulic lift just smash their way in? Like, where are the laser grids and the trapdoors?
Well, the post-heist government audit revealed a reality that is far more mundane and bureaucratic than laser grids. First off, there was no CCTV coverage in that specific wing.
Wait, what? In the Galerie des Ballons? The room with the crown jewels?
Yes. According to the audit, roughly a third of the museum's rooms lacked functioning, modern video surveillance.
How is that even possible today?
They had been trapped in a bureaucratic procurement cycle for years. They were endlessly delaying the installation of high-definition cameras due to budget disputes and, well, the structural difficulty of wiring a historic palace.
That is a staggering oversight for a facility holding billions of dollars in cultural heritage.
Oh, it gets worse.
Really?
Yeah. The display cases holding the royal jewels weren't constructed from military-grade bulletproof polycarbonate.
What were they?
They were, in many instances, standard, slightly reinforced household-grade glass.
You're kidding.
Nope. That is why the thieves were able to simply slice through them with battery-operated tools rather than requiring explosives or thermal lances.
Wow.
But the most critical failure, and the one that actually allowed the 7-minute extraction to work, was the silent alarm protocol.
Oh, yes, I read about the alarm protocol. This genuinely confused me. So the alarm works, right?
Yes, the alarm functioned perfectly.
They break the glass, and an alert immediately pings the Central Security Office in the basement of the Louvre.
Correct.
So why don't the armed guards immediately sprint up the stairs and tackle these guys?
Because of liability and safety matrices.
Right, what does that mean?
The museum's standing protocol dictated that in the event of an alarm during operating hours, the absolute first priority of the security staff is mass visitor evacuation.
Oh,
They are trained to assume that a broken glass alarm might indicate an active shooter or a terrorist incident.
so they prioritize the crowds.
Right. So instead of a tactical response team rushing the gallery to neutralize the threat and protect the assets, the protocol forced the guards to fan out across the adjacent wings and begin loudly directing tourists toward the fire exits.
Wow. So the protocol designed to keep people safe actually acted as a buffer for the thieves.
Exactly.
It gave them free reign of the gallery while the guards were busy clearing out the tourists.
Precisely. The system operated exactly as it was designed to, but the design itself was fundamentally flawed when applied to a rapid extraction heist.
Now, what makes this specific 2025 heist so compelling for our deep dive is the aftermath.
Right.
Within a few weeks, the French authorities actually arrested several suspects. But the prosecutor gave a press conference and revealed that the guys they arrested were not, like, international super spies.
No, not at all.
They were local, low-level criminals from the northern suburbs of Paris. They had records for things like stealing cars and breaking into ATMs.
Which is the crucial pivot point in this entire analysis. Because while the individuals who executed the crime were local amateurs, the methodology they used, the urban camouflage, the rapid motorized extraction, the specific tools, the exact 7-minute window.
All of that.
Right, that methodology did not belong to them. They were simply copying a blueprint.
A blueprint drafted by the absolute masters of the craft. And that brings us to the real subject of our investigation today.
The architects.
Yes, a decentralized syndicate that essentially wrote the modern textbook on paramilitarized jewel theft, the Pink Panthers.
It is a name that instantly evokes a very specific, almost comedic 1960s cinematic vibe.
It really does. And the origin of the name is literally tied to the Peter Sellers movies.
Right.
The name Pink Panthers wasn't chosen by the syndicate itself. It was assigned to them by Interpol back in 2003.
After that big London job.
Exactly. There was a massive heist at a Graff Diamonds boutique in the Mayfair district of London. A guy walks in, immaculately dressed, poses as a wealthy client looking for an engagement ring.
Very smooth.
Right. Suddenly, he pulls a .357 Magnum revolver, and his partner, who followed him in, pulls out a heavy hammer and just starts obliterating the display cases.
Wow.
They make off with millions in diamonds.
The classic smash and grab, executed with extreme aggression.
Exactly. But the London police managed to track one of the accomplices down to a hideout apartment.
Yeah.
And while the forensics team is tossing the apartment looking for the jewels, a detective happens to open a jar of the suspect's girlfriend's face cream.
You can't make this stuff up.
Right. He sticks his finger in the lotion and he hits something hard. He pulls it out, wipes it off, and it is a massive 500,000-pound blue diamond.
Which is a direct, almost shot-for-shot mimicry of a scene from the 1975 film, The Return of the Pink Panther.
Right. The British tabloids got a hold of that detail. They ran the headline. Interpol adopted it for their task force, and the name just stuck globally.
It's catchy.
It is, but when you actually dig into the sources and look at who these people are, the comedy completely evaporates.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a highly sophisticated network, and their origins are rooted in a very dark, very real historical tragedy.
Yeah, we really have to look at the geopolitical landscape of the Balkans in the 1990s to understand how a network like this forms.
Right.
because we are not talking about a traditional mafia structure here.
Yeah.
There is no central godfather sitting at a big desk giving orders.
Not kissing the ring.
Exactly. There is no rigid top-down hierarchy.
The sources describe them as a decentralized network consisting of over 800 core members and affiliates, predominantly hailing from Serbia and Montenegro, and they were born out of the ashes of the Yugoslav wars. When the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia collapsed, the region fell into horrific sectarian conflict.
And the socioeconomic fallout of that conflict was total devastation.
Just ruin.
Following the wars, the economy was absolutely crippled, heavily exacerbated by the United Nations sanctions imposed in 1992.
Right, the sanctions really locked them down.
You had hyperinflation that destroyed life savings literally overnight. Entire industrial sectors simply ceased to exist.
So you have a country trying to rebuild, but you also have a massive surplus of young men returning from the front lines.
Right.
These are individuals who received highly specialized, state-sponsored military and paramilitary training.
We are talking about extensive training in small unit tactical maneuvers, covert surveillance, encrypted communications, weapons handling, and rapid extraction under fire.
Serious combat skills.
Yeah. But they return home to a society with massive unemployment and systemic, deep-rooted corruption. They have highly marketable skills, but no legitimate market to sell them to.
So they pivot. They take the special operations playbook they learned in the military and they apply it to high-value international criminal enterprises.
It's a pragmatic, if dark, transition.
Actually, when you read through the logistical breakdowns of how the Pink Panthers organize a heist, it doesn't sound like a street gang at all. It sounds remarkably like a twisted, highly efficient Silicon Valley tech startup.
I think that analogy is incredibly accurate. The level of operational compartmentation and logistical preparation they employ is entirely corporate in its thoroughness.
Let's break down that startup phase, because this fascinated me.
Yeah.
Before a crew even sets foot near a target city, they have to secure funding. Because flying a team of 4 people across the world, housing them and outfitting them for a heist is really expensive.
The overhead is huge.
Right. One of the intelligence reports noted that a single heist in Tokyo cost the syndicate roughly $100,000 just in upfront operational costs.
Wow.
So they go to an outside investor within the broader Balkan criminal underworld who fronts the seed money.
Like an angel investor for crime.
Exactly.
And the deployment of that seed money is meticulously structured, specifically around their housing logistics. The use of the 3-flat system is a absolute masterclass in operational tradecraft.
Yes. Explain the 3-flat system, because this is where the military mindset really shines through.
So when the crew arrives in the target city, say Geneva or London, they don't just check into a hotel.
Right. Hotels have cameras.
Hotels have cameras, and they require passports. Instead, they use cash to lease 3 separate residential apartments under forged identities.
Okay, 3 apartments.
Flat number 1 is the actual residential unit. This is where the strike team sleeps, eats, and plans the operation.
Makes sense.
Flat number 2 is the decoy. It is rented, but it is kept completely empty.
So nobody ever goes there?
Nobody. Its sole purpose is to create a false paper trail. If law enforcement picks up a trace of a forged name on a lease, they raid the decoy flat, find absolutely nothing, and lose the trail.
That is brilliant. And then there's the 3rd flat.
Right. The 3rd flat is the secret cache. Only the operational team leader knows its exact location.
Okay.
Its only function is to serve as the immediate stash house for the stolen jewels the moment the extraction is complete.
So they don't bring the jewels back to where they sleep?
Never. The team hits a store, hands the loot off to a courier, and the courier takes it directly to the 3rd flat, isolating the stolen assets from the actual perpetrators. So if the strike team is pulled over by the police an hour later, they are completely clean.
It's brilliant compartmentation. And we have to talk about the people running these operations. You have figures like Dragan Mikic, who is widely considered one of the founding architects of the network, possessing that deep military background we discussed.
Right, the classic paramilitary profile.
But then the sources introduce us to someone like Olivera Jurkovic, and she completely shatters every preconceived notion I had about international organized crime.
Her profile is an absolute anomaly in the criminal underworld, but it makes perfect tactical sense when you understand the Panthers' methodology.
Olivera is a towering 6'4" woman. She wasn't a shadowy underworld figure. She was a highly visible professional basketball star.
Literal celebrity.
Yeah. She played for the Yugoslav national team. She was beloved by fans and played for top-tier clubs in Greece like Panathinaikos. But she eventually became romantically involved with a known criminal, got integrated into the Panther network, and eventually rose to become the self-proclaimed brain of their operations in Greece.
Which points to a fascinating operational dynamic within the Pink Panthers. The utilization of gender parity.
Yeah.
Women are not relegated to the sidelines or used merely as accomplices. They play an equal, critical role in the intelligence-gathering phase of the syndicate.
Why is that? Is it just about blending in?
It's about disarming the baseline security posture of high-end retail.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, picture a luxury watch boutique in Geneva. The security guards are highly trained to look for threats. If four muscular men with military-style haircuts walk in together, the guards immediately bristle.
Right, their guard goes up.
The doors might even be remotely locked. But if a glamorous, well-dressed 6'4" woman walks in, wearing expensive clothes, asking to look at diamond pendants, the threat radar drops to 0.
They welcome her in. They offer her champagne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while she is sipping champagne, she is spending 2 hours actively casing the room.
Taking mental notes.
Oh, she is noting the exact placement of the CCTV cameras, the blind spots, the rotation schedule of the armed guards, the make and model of the magnetic locks on the doors, and the thickness of the display glass.
Wow.
Oliveira herself was famously known for returning to the safe house and drafting architectural sketches of the target stores that were as precise as a municipal blueprint.
That level of planning feeds into this weird psychological aura surrounding them. In the Balkans, especially in the early 2000s, they weren't universally condemned. A lot of people viewed them as folk heroes. It's this persistent Robin Hood mythos.
The narrative they very carefully cultivated in the regional press is that they are striking back against the wealthy, technologically superior Western nations, the same nations that imposed the crippling economic sanctions on Yugoslavia.
Right.
They claim to steal from the untouchable elite in Paris and Dubai and funnel that wealth back into their impoverished hometowns.
And do they actually do that?
There is evidence of them acting as local benefactors. Yeah, funding cafes, building homes, injecting cash into struggling local economies.
One of the founding members even gave an anonymous interview where he literally said, "I am a thief, but a gentleman." They have this strict internal code where they actively try to avoid using lethal force. They rely on speed and shock, not murder.
Though, I think we need to apply a healthy dose of critical skepticism to that narrative.
Oh, for sure.
While the socioeconomic devastation of the 1990s in the Balkans is an undeniable historical reality, framing armed robbery as an act of patriotic wealth redistribution is a highly convenient, romanticized excuse
Right.
for what is fundamentally organized thievery driven by immense personal profit.
I agree completely. We shouldn't romanticize it. Pointing a .357 Magnum at the face of a terrified 22-year-old shop clerk, even if you don't pull the trigger, inflicts lasting psychological trauma. It is not a victimless political statement.
Absolutely not. But to understand why they were so successful for so long, we really have to look at the tactical execution. The intelligence gathering we discussed culminates in physical strikes that are almost theatrical in their audacity.
Let's run through the anatomy of some of these strikes because the evolution of their tactics across different continents is wild. Let's start with Tokyo, 2004. The Ginza district.
Okay.
This is really the heist that put the Pink Panthers on the radar of global intelligence agencies.
The Ginza operation was a textbook example of environmental exploitation.
2 men and a woman walk into a high-end boutique. They don't mess around with subtle lockpicking.
No.
They immediately deploy pepper spray and tear gas, incapacitating the clerks and the guards. They smash the main display case and extract the Comtesse de Vendôme necklace.
Which is a legendary piece.
Yeah, this piece had 116 diamonds and was valued at $33 million. They are out the door in seconds. But the most brilliant part isn't the theft, it's the escape. How do you escape the Ginza district, which is one of the most densely populated, heavily trafficked urban centers on the planet?
You don't use a getaway car.
You use bicycles.
Bicycles.
They had simple push bikes waiting outside. They merged into the chaotic pedestrian and bicycle traffic, utilizing alleyways and sidewalks where the heavy Tokyo police cruisers simply could not follow them. They vanished in plain sight.
It demonstrates a deep understanding of the local tactical environment. A car in Tokyo is a trap. A bicycle is freedom.
And then we see them completely flip the script on vehicle use 3 years later. Dubai, 2007, the Wafi Mall.
Oh, this one is famous.
This is the heist that I think truly defined their willingness to use brute mechanical force. It's known as the vol au billet, or ram raiding tactic.
Ram raiding is inherently chaotic, but the Panthers refined it into a synchronized ballet of destruction.
Picture the Wafi Mall. It's an opulent Egyptian-themed shopping center, marble floors, massive glass atriums. It is broad daylight. Shoppers are walking around, families are having lunch on the balconies.
It's a normal day.
Suddenly, the roaring sound of V10 engines echoes through the mall. 2 stolen Audi S8 sedans, heavy, powerful, all-wheel drive luxury cars, smash backward through the exterior glass doors of the mall.
They didn't just smash the entrance, though. They drove the vehicles inside the pedestrian walkways.
They drive the cars down the pristine marble corridors, right up to the Graf Diamond's storefront. The lead Audi reverses and violently rams the reinforced glass of the boutique, shattering the structural integrity of the storefront.
Wow.
Masked men pour out of both cars, storm the breached store, smash the interior cases, grab millions in jewels, jump back into the Audis, and speed out of the mall.
And the timeline on this?
The entire operation, from the moment the glass broke at the entrance to the moment they exited the building, took less than 60 seconds.
The psychological paralysis of the bystanders in that scenario is absolute. I mean, no security guard is prepared to engage 2 heavily armored sedans operating inside a shopping mall.
No, of course not.
But the crucial forensic detail of the Dubai heist is what they did with those vehicles afterward.
Right. They drove them to an industrial area on the outskirts of the city, abandoned them, doused them in accelerant, and burned them to the ground.
Why burn a perfectly good, stolen luxury car?
To destroy evidence.
Exactly. Because of Lockhart's exchange principle, which we will dig into shortly, the interior of a getaway car is a forensic goldmine.
Right. DNA everywhere.
It holds hair follicles, skin cells on the steering wheel, sweat on the seats. By incinerating the vehicles, they turn all biological evidence into ash, effectively severing the forensic link between the crime scene and the perpetrators.
It is ruthless efficiency. But they aren't always relying on brute force and fire. Sometimes they rely on pure psychological misdirection.
Like the Paris job.
Yes. Look at Paris in 2008, the Harry Winston boutique. 4 members of the gang arrive at the store. But they don't look like paramilitary operators.
No.
They are dressed in full drag. Wigs, heavy makeup, floral skirts, high heels.
It's a variation of the urban camouflage we saw at the Louvre, but weaponized for a luxury environment.
Exactly. The armed security guards at the door see 4 seemingly affluent women approaching, so they buzz them right in.
And once they're inside,
The moment the magnetic locks disengage and they are inside, the illusion drops. They pull handguns from their purses, herd the terrified staff and high-net-worth clients into a back corner, and methodically strip the vaults of an estimated $100 million in jewels.
the disguise works on 2 levels. First, obviously, it bypasses the initial security perimeter.
Right.
Second, human memory is notoriously fragile under stress. If you ask a traumatized clerk to describe the men who robbed them, their brain is struggling to reconcile the aggressive masculine behavior with the visual input of floral dresses and wigs.
The brain just short circuits.
Yeah, the witness descriptions become contradictory and useless to police sketch artists.
And they escalated that disguise game to an almost absurd cinematic level in London in 2009, back at a Graf Diamonds location.
Well, this one is incredible.
2 men walk in wearing immaculate, tailored suits. They look like hedge fund managers. But what neither the security guards nor the high-definition 4K cameras realize is that these men had spent 4 hours that morning sitting in makeup chairs.
They employed professional-grade, Hollywood-style prosthetics.
Yes. They hired a legitimate, high-end makeup studio in London. They told the artists they were actors shooting a music video and needed to look older and have their facial structures altered.
So clever.
The artists applied liquid latex, altered their jawlines, changed their skin tones, and applied incredibly realistic wigs. They literally walked into the jewelry store wearing the faces of completely different human beings.
Which entirely negates the purpose of facial recognition software or CCTV.
Exactly.
You can have the best cameras in the world, but if they're recording a latex mask, the digital evidence is worthless.
The creativity they prioritize over brute violence is sometimes almost comical. My favorite example is an incident in Biarritz, France.
Oh, the bench.
Yes. They are casing a jewelry store located on a busy public square. There is a public bench directly across the street from the store where tourists often sit, which creates a massive surveillance problem for the
That's
thieves.
right. You can't have people sitting right there watching you.
They can't have witnesses sitting 20 feet away while they work. So how do you control a public environment without drawing police attention?
You don't try to close the street down. You go to the hardware store.
You go to the hardware store. The night before the heist, a member of the crew walked over to that specific bench and painted it with a thick coat of fresh, wet paint.
It's so simple.
They even hung a little wet paint sign on it. The next morning, during the heist, tourists walked up, saw the sign, and kept walking. They literally repainted city furniture just to clear their operational sightlines.
It's an astonishing level of environmental control. But all of this buildup, all of this preparation, ultimately hinges on the extraction. Getting out of the store is only step one.
Exactly. As we discussed, the goal is never to engage in a prolonged shootout with the local police. The goal is to cross an international border within a few hours.
Right.
In 2005, they hit a luxury store in the coastal town of St. Tropez. They walked in wearing casual floral t-shirts, blending in with the wealthy tourists. They secured the jewels, walked out, jogged down to the marina, and jumped into a waiting, high-performance speedboat.
A speedboat.
They escaped by sea, completely bypassing all the police roadblocks that were instantly set up on the coastal highways.
They utilize multimodal transport. You hit the target on foot. You hand the loot to a Vespa courier who vanishes into alleyways. The strike team takes a speedboat to a secondary location, and then they cross the border in luxury sedans.
It's like a relay race.
Yeah, and the rapid dispersal of assets and personnel creates a tracking nightmare for local jurisdictions.
So, listening to all this, they burn cars to destroy DNA, they wear Hollywood prosthetics to defeat cameras, they escape on speedboats, they use decoy apartments. They seem virtually invincible.
They do.
But here is the major pivot in our deep dive. Because nobody is truly invisible forever.
No. And this is where the narrative shifts from the art of the physical heist to the science of the microscopic.
Yeah.
While the Panthers spent the late 1990s and the 2000s perfecting their paramilitary tactics, global law enforcement was quietly undergoing a technological revolution.
For a long time, the police were just operating in silos. The French police had files on a heist in Paris. The Japanese police had files on Ginza, but they weren't talking to each other effectively.
Right.
That changed in 2007 when Interpol finally established Project Pink Panthers.
Project Pink Panthers was a watershed moment in international criminal justice.
How so?
It was an acknowledgement that a decentralized global network could only be fought by a centralized global database. It brought together 188 member countries to pool their intelligence, their operational files, and most importantly, their biometric data fingerprints and DNA profiles.
But when you look at the sources regarding how this global database actually functioned in the early days, you hit this incredibly frustrating bottleneck. The science was there, but the bureaucracy was agonizingly slow.
This is a classic conflict between technological capability and sovereign law.
Right.
Interpol created the DNA gateway to share genetic profiles. But you can't just freely browse the genetic data of citizens from other countries. Data privacy laws, especially in Europe, are incredibly strict.
Yeah, the red tape is intense.
According to a UK Home Office release we reviewed, the estimated bureaucratic turnaround time to legally exchange and verify a DNA profile through the traditional Interpol channels was roughly 143 days.
143 days. Think about the timeline we just discussed. The Panthers are in and out of a country in hours.
Right.
By the time a French detective gets a DNA match back from Interpol 143 days later, the gold is melted, the diamonds are recut, and the thieves are sitting in a cafe in Belgrade enjoying their retirement.
The intelligence was accurate, but it was not actionable.
Right.
Europe realized this jurisdictional latency was a massive vulnerability. So they implemented a technological and legal workaround known as the EU Prüm regime.
This completely changed the game, right? Explain how Prüm actually works, because it sounds like sci-fi compared to the old system.
The genius of the Prüm regime is that it does not create one giant, centralized European DNA database, which would violate numerous national privacy laws.
Okay, so what does it do?
Instead, it is a networked, federated system. It connects the existing national databases of participating European states.
So they talk to each other directly.
Exactly. Under Prüm, if a detective in Berlin finds a drop of blood at a crime scene, they can initiate an automated, anonymized query across the databases of France, Spain, Italy, and others.
And they don't have to wait 143 days for paperwork to clear.
No. The algorithm performs a hit-no-hit query. It simply asks the other databases, do you have a sequence of numbers that matches this sequence of numbers?
No name is attached.
No names, no personal data, just raw genetic math, and it returns an answer in 15 minutes.
From 143 days down to 15 minutes. That is a staggering reduction in operational latency.
If the system returns a hit, meaning Spain confirms they have that DNA profile in their system,
Right.
only then did the detectives initiate stage 2, which is the legal, bureaucratic request for the actual identifying information.
So it focuses the paperwork.
Right, it focuses the legal paperwork only on the exact jurisdiction that has the suspect.
Okay, so the system is incredibly fast now, but I still have this genuine point of confusion.
Yeah.
We just spent 20 minutes detailing how smart these syndicates are. They burn the Audis to ash. They wear liquid latex over their faces. They wear gloves.
Right.
How is it physically possible that the police are even finding DNA at these crime scenes to run through the PRUM system in the first place?
It all comes down to a foundational concept in forensic science known as Locard's exchange principle.
Locard's exchange principle.
Yes, it was formulated by Dr. Edmund Locard, a pioneer in the field, and it is the absolute bedrock of modern crime scene investigation. The principle simply states, every contact leaves a trace.
Every contact leaves a trace.
It is an inescapable biological reality. No matter how much paramilitary training you have, no matter how meticulous your planning is, you are a biological organism.
Right.
You are constantly shedding microscopic evidence of your existence. You shed dead skin cells, your eyelashes fall out, you leave microscopic droplets of saliva when you speak, you leave sebaceous oils from your pores.
So you literally can't turn it off.
You cannot. When you enter an environment, you bring trace elements like soil from a specific region on your shoes into the room. And when you leave, you take trace elements from the room with you. You cannot exist in a physical space without altering its microscopic makeup.
And the irony that runs through all these case files is that these multi-million-dollar, highly orchestrated masterminds are repeatedly brought down not by brilliant police shootouts, but by the most mundane, pathetic human mistakes.
Let's look at the Antwerp diamond heist of 2003 as the perfect case study of Locard's principle in action.
Oh, this is my favorite example from the sources. Now, to be clear, this wasn't the Pink Panthers.
Right, different group.
This was a crew of highly skilled Italian thieves known as the School of Turin, led by a man named Leonardo Notarbartolo. But their methodology was similarly elite. They pulled off what was universally dubbed the heist of the century at the Antwerp Diamond Center.
The level of physical security they bypassed in Antwerp was historically unprecedented.
It really was. This vault was considered impregnable. Leonardo actually rented an office in the building for 2 years just to establish a legitimate cover and study the vault's blueprints.
2 years of casing.
Over a single weekend, his crew bypassed 10 distinct layers of high-tech security. We are talking about infrared heat detectors, Doppler radar, a magnetic field switch, seismic sensors that detect vibrations in the floor, and a massive steel vault door secured by a 100 million combination lock.
They defeated every single piece of billion-dollar technology without triggering a single alarm.
They cleaned out the safe deposit boxes and got away with over $100 million in diamonds and gold. It was a completely flawless physical execution.
Almost flawless.
Almost. But Leonardo got caught, and he got caught fast. Do you know how?
The sandwich.
The salami sandwich. During their escape back to Italy, the adrenaline is wearing off, and they decide to dump a garbage bag full of mundane debris receipts, tape, and trash from the safe house into some bushes near a highway in Belgium.
Just lazy.
A local farmer finds the trash, gets suspicious, and calls the police.
Then
The police dig through the bag, and inside they find a discarded, crumpled wrapper containing a half-eaten salami sandwich.
which is exactly where the microscopic science takes over.
The forensic technicians take that wrapper to the lab. They swab the edge of the bread and the plastic where the person took a bite. They extract a microscopic amount of saliva.
Wow.
They run the DNA profile from the saliva, run it through the database, and it pings a direct match to Leonardo Notarbartolo.
Because of course it does.
The man defeated a 100 million combination lock, and he got sentenced to 10 years in prison because he couldn't wait until he crossed the border to eat his lunch.
Locard's exchange principle. He entered the environment, he left a trace of his biology behind, and we see the Pink Panthers making these exact same microscopic errors even at the height of their operational discipline.
Right. Let's go back to the 2009 Graf London heist.
The makeup one.
This was the one where they spent 4 hours in the makeup chairs applying Hollywood prosthetics. They execute the robbery flawlessly. They walk out with $65 million in diamonds, and they initiate a highly complex vehicle switching maneuver to confuse the police helicopters.
They used 3 different getaway cars, staging them in blind alleyways, switching vehicles in seconds to break the visual pursuit.
But during one of those frantic, high-adrenaline vehicle switchovers in a narrow London alleyway, one of the gang members reaches into his pocket and he accidentally drops a cheap, disposable burner cell phone.
Just slips right out.
It slides down into the crack between the passenger seat and the center console of the abandoned car. He doesn't notice. They drive away.
A single moment of lost focus, likely driven by an adrenaline spike.
The police eventually locate the abandoned decoy car. The forensics team tears the interior apart and finds the burner phone. Now, it's a burner phone, so it's not registered to a name.
But the digital footprint is there.
Yes. The police pull the internal call logs. They identify the network of numbers the phone communicated with. They triangulate the cell tower data of those numbers. And within days, the entire network is exposed.
Incredible.
The 4-hour, state-of-the-art latex disguises were rendered completely useless by a $20 piece of plastic dropped between a car seat.
And this brings us full circle to the 2025 Louvre heist that we opened the show with. We noted that the thieves were amateur criminals copying the Panther blueprint.
Exactly. They had the hydraulic lift, they had the speed, but they lacked the Panthers' obsessive forensic discipline. How did the French police track them back to the northern suburbs of Paris?
Because in their haste to flee the Galerie d'Apollon, they left a trail of physical debris. Investigators found a dropped 2-way radio walkie-talkie, a pair of discarded work gloves, and a gasoline canister left near the hydraulic lift.
So they didn't even burn the evidence.
No, they just left it. The forensics team didn't need a fingerprint. They just swabbed the inside of the work gloves for sweat, swabbed the push-to-talk button on the walkie-talkie for skin cells, ran the genetic material through the automated European database, and got immediate hits on the suspect's prior petty crime records.
The science is entirely unforgiving. It strips away the Hollywood glamour and reduces a multi-million-dollar operation to a single drop of sweat.
It really is.
But, you know, as satisfying as it is to hear that the science works and these guys get identified, this brings us to the most frustrating part of the whole equation and the focus of our final segment today.
Yeah.
Forensics can identify the suspects. Interpol can issue red notices. But what happens to the billions of dollars worth of stolen history?
It's a great question.
And if we know exactly who these masterminds are, why aren't they all rotting in maximum security?
Because identifying a suspect and securing a conviction are 2 completely different battles. The aftermath of a heist introduces a massive legal and economic disparity.
Okay, let's start with the economics.
Yeah, let's start with the economics, because you
Yeah.
touched on this earlier. The public assumes that a $100 million heist means the thieves walk away with $100 million in their pockets.
Right. You assume they are retiring to a private island.
The reality is much closer to a standard corporate exploitation model, just applied to organized crime. The people taking the physical risk, the strike team kicking in the doors and dodging police, do not capture the majority of the profit.
The sources blew my mind on this. The strike team typically only nets about 20% to 40% of the stolen goods' estimated street value.
And why is that? Because stolen diamonds have no intrinsic value until they are laundered back into cash.
Right.
The real money, the lion's share of the profit, is commanded by the shadowy infrastructure of the black market.
The fences, the underground lapidaries we talked about earlier, the corrupt gemologists who forged the new certificates of origin.
Exactly. The loot is couriered back to safe havens in the Balkans, and then it is slowly, methodically funneled into major international diamond hubs. The most prominent example is the Diamond Quarter in Antwerp, Belgium,
where historically up to 80% of all the world's rough diamonds pass through. It is a massive, concentrated ecosystem of gem trading.
which makes it the perfect environment to hide a stolen stone in plain sight. The fence takes on the risk of moving these slaughtered gems into the legitimate market, and because they control the choke point of liquidity, they dictate the margins.
So they hold all the cards.
Yeah, the thieves are getting shortchanged by the men sitting comfortably in underground offices.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here. The global diamond industry has massive monopolies.
Yeah.
You have organizations like the Kimberley Process designed to track the origin of stones. You have microscopic laser inscriptions on the girdles of high-end diamonds.
Right?
How does a forged certificate from an illicit lapidary actually fool a legitimate, highly trained diamond dealer in Antwerp? Wouldn't an appraiser spot a recut fake immediately?
That's a very logical assumption, but it fundamentally misunderstands the sheer volume and velocity of the wholesale diamond trade.
How so?
Yes, laser inscriptions exist, but the very first thing an illicit lapidary does when recutting a stone is polish off the microscopic laser serial number on the girdle.
Oh, they just buff it out.
Literally. And while the Kimberley process attempts to track rough diamonds to prevent conflict minerals, once a stone is cut, polished, and introduced into a parcel of hundreds of other similar stones with forged secondary market paperwork, the origin becomes incredibly murky.
It gets lost in the crowd.
The dealers are often trading rapidly, relying on the paperwork provided. If the recut stone matches the forged gemological certificate and the price is slightly below market rate, the stone moves. The sheer volume provides the cover.
So the guys who broke into the Louvre might only get $30 million out of a $100 million haul.
Yeah.
But still, $30 million is a massive amount of capital. It's enough to buy incredible layers of protection, which explains the legal technicalities and the safe havens. Because even when Interpol uses DNA to know exactly who a Pink Panther is, and they know the suspect is sitting in a specific cafe in Belgrade, they often can't touch them.
The extradition barrier is the single greatest hurdle for international law enforcement. Interpol is not an international police force. They cannot arrest people.
Right, they just share intel.
They only facilitate information sharing. Arrests must be made by local authorities. And historically, countries like Serbia and Montenegro have had strict constitutional provisions or policies refusing to extradite their own citizens to face charges in foreign jurisdictions.
So if a Panther commits a massive armed robbery in Tokyo or Paris, and they manage to evade the police for 48 hours and cross the border back into the Balkans, they cross an invisible line where Western law enforcement simply loses jurisdiction.
They are essentially untouchable.
They heavily exploit this geopolitical loophole. They return home not as fugitives, but as wealthy individuals, pouring that illicitly gained Western wealth into local real estate, opening businesses, and further cementing that Robin Hood mythos we discussed.
But occasionally, their luck runs out. Occasionally, they don't make it to the border.
Sure.
They get caught in France or Greece or Switzerland, and they get put in prison.
But reading these case files, they don't always stay caught.
No, they don't. The prison breaks are where the paramilitary nature of the syndicate is most violently demonstrated.
We have to talk about Olivera Irkovic again. The 6'4" basketball star turned Panther mastermind.
Her escape is legendary.
She was finally apprehended in Greece and placed in the Korydallos prison in Athens, which is a maximum security facility. But she doesn't just resign herself to a sentence, she uses her intelligence.
Right.
She starts painting murals on the prison walls. She is highly charismatic, and her art is genuinely good, so the guards gradually give her more leeway. She's allowed to walk the halls with relative freedom to paint.
She is actively manipulating the baseline security posture of the facility, just as she did when casing luxury boutiques.
Exactly. She uses a smuggled phone to coordinate with her outside accomplices. One afternoon, a man shows up at the front gate of the prison. He is carrying boxes and claims he is delivering legitimate art supplies oil paints for Olivera's murals.
Okay.
The guards call Olivera down to the gate. Because she has established this trusting routine, she approaches the gate with only one guard.
Wow.
The moment the gate opens, the fake delivery guy drops the boxes, violently punches the guard in the face, snatches the keys, unlocks the perimeter, and Olivera sprints out, jumping onto the back of a waiting motorcycle.
Unbelievable.
She vanishes into Athens traffic. She became the first and only woman to ever successfully escape that maximum security prison.
It relies on deception and rapid violence. But sometimes they dispense with the deception entirely and just rely on overwhelming military force.
Look at what happened in Switzerland in 2013 at the Orb prison in the canton of Vaud. A known Panther, Milan Poporich, is serving a lengthy sentence. His outside crew decides it's time to bring him home. They don't try to smuggle in a file or dig a tunnel. They literally steal 2 vans. They drive one van at high speed and violently ram the heavy steel gates of the prison perimeter.
A literal battering ram.
They use the second van to break through the inner chain link fence.
A coordinated vehicular breach of a fortified structure.
The accomplices jump out, they set up heavy-duty ladders over the razor wire, and they deploy AK-47 assault rifles.
Just massive firepower.
They don't just threaten the guards, they lay down heavy, suppressing automatic fire against the armed prison watchtowers to keep the guards pinned down, while Milan climbs over the ladders and drops into the getaway vehicle.
It's like a war zone.
They flee, eventually abandoning and burning the vans, and they disappear.
It is a literal Military assault on a sovereign nation's penitentiary system to retrieve a single operative. It speaks volumes about the financial resources, the tactical weaponry, and the unyielding loyalty that exists within the network. They leave no one behind if they can help it.
It is terrifying. You have syndicates that can ram raid malls, bypass 100 million combination locks, and launch AK-47 assaults on Swiss prisons. So, looking forward, how does society possibly close this gap? What does the future of security look like?
Well, science and technology are rapidly shifting the battlefields, making the physical smash and grab nearly obsolete. We talked about how DNA is closing the forensic loop, but the future of asset protection lies in fundamentally destroying the black market liquidity we discussed earlier.
How do you do that? How do you stop someone from recutting a diamond?
By digitizing its physical identity through blockchain technology.
Botching.
Yeah, the major players in the legitimate jewelry industry are heavily investing in creating permanent, immutable digital ledgers for high-value stones.
Okay, break this down for me, because I hear blockchain and I just think of cryptocurrency. How do you put a physical rock on a blockchain?
You don't put the rock on the blockchain, you put its biometric data on the blockchain.
Oh, I see.
From the moment a high-value diamond is pulled from the earth, it is subjected to advanced 3D optical scanning. The scanners map the exact molecular structure, the microscopic internal inclusions, which are basically natural flaws inside the carbon, and the precise refraction index.
So it scans the inside of the stone.
Yes. This data is translated into a unique digital hash, a string of cryptographic code, which is permanently recorded on a decentralized blockchain ledger.
So the diamond has an unalterable digital birth certificate, but if the Panther steals it and gives it to the underground lapidary to recut it, doesn't that change the optical signature and defeat the scanner?
Not anymore.
Really?
The new generation of scanners uses AI to analyze the internal molecular inclusions, which cannot be changed by polishing the exterior facets. Even if a lapidary shaves off 20% of the stone's weight and completely alters its shape, if a legitimate dealer in Antwerp runs that stone through a modern scanner, the AI will match the internal flaw pattern to the stolen ledger on the blockchain. The provenance cannot be faked. And if the fences won't buy the stones because they mathematically cannot be sold on the legitimate market, you choke off the liquidity. If there is no liquidity, the economic incentive for the heist vanishes.
That is a massive technological leap. And you mentioned AI. I was reading that artificial intelligence is also changing how we identify the thieves themselves, specifically regarding those crazy latex masks and drag disguises.
Yes, visual disguise is becoming irrelevant due to AI gait analysis.
Gait analysis, the way a person walks.
Exactly. Think about how you can recognize your spouse or your best friend walking down the street from a block away, long before you can see their face. You recognize them by the rhythm of their shoulders, the specific length of their stride.
Yes, absolutely.
Your walk is a unique biomechanical signature. It is developed over a lifetime, influenced by the exact length of your femurs, the distribution of your muscle mass, and minor past injuries.
So you can't fake it.
You can put on a professional, Hollywood-grade prosthetic mask that easily fools a human guard and a 4K camera. You can wear heavy padding under a floral dress to completely change your body shape. But you cannot easily change the fundamental physics of how your skeleton articulates through space.
So how does the AI track that?
Explain it like an AI mapping a constellation of stars over your joints. As a person walks into a jewelry store, the surveillance system is analyzing the video feed at 120 frames per second.
Okay.
It places digital anchor points on the ankles, the knees, the hips, the shoulders. It calculates the exact angle of the arm swing and the pressure distribution of the footfall.
That is crazy.
Even if you put a heavy disguise over those stars, the gravitational pull, the physics of your walk remains mathematically identical. The AI can flag a person entering a boutique in London in a tailored suit because their specific skeletal rhythm perfectly matches a Pink Panther who robbed the store in Dubai in a tracksuit 3 years earlier.
That is wild. The way you move your knee literally becomes an inescapable fingerprint. The physical space is becoming incredibly hostile to the traditional jewel thief.
It is. The arms race is pushing the physical heist toward extinction. But as we reflect on this, as technology makes the cinematic smash and grab a thing of the past, we really have to pause and look at the collateral damage left in the wake of these crimes.
And this is where we really need to drop the excitement for a moment. It is very easy to read these files, to talk about speedboats and wet paint and hydraulic lifts, and get caught up in the cinematic nature of it all.
Yeah, to root for the bad guys.
Exactly. It is easy to look at guys escaping prisons with AK-47s and romanticize the rogue, anti-hero, gentleman thief.
But there is a profound, permanent tragedy at the core of this entire subject, the irreversible loss of human history. When we look at the 2025 Louvre heist or the Dresden Green Vault heist, the items being taken are not just shiny rocks with a high price tag attached to them. They are irreplaceable artifacts.
They were the last physical memories of the French Second Empire. Think about Empress Eugenie's crown or Queen Marie Amélie's sapphires.
Pieces of history.
These items were crafted by master jewelers 2 centuries ago. They sat at the literal center of royal courts. They survived revolutions. They survived 2 world wars. They witnessed the rise and fall of empires. They are physical anchors to our past.
And when a historical artifact like that is stolen, we know the reality. It is almost never recovered intact.
Never.
It is taken to a damp basement, the intricate gold filigree is melted down into an unrecognizable puddle of commodity metal, and the gems are violently pried out and mathematically butchered on a grinding wheel. The physical manifestation of that era's artistry, the story it tells about human civilization and craftsmanship, is just silenced forever.
It's just gone, reduced to untraceable cash to buy a luxury apartment in the Balkans.
It affects not just the immediate victims, the museum curators who dedicated their lives to preserving these items, or the terrified security guards left with PTSD, but it affects historians, families, and our collective cultural heritage. When we lose these artifacts, we are quite literally being robbed of our shared human memory.
When you put it in that perspective, the Robin Hood myth completely crumbles. You aren't stealing from a faceless, wealthy elite. You are stealing from every child who will ever visit a museum to feel a connection with the past. It's an erasure of history for the sake of temporary illicit profit.
It is a cultural tragedy masquerading as an action movie.
And that leaves us with a chilling concept to mull over. We opened today by talking about the messy, chaotic nature of robberies and how syndicates like the Pink Panthers brought military precision and corporate logistics to the physical heist.
Right.
But if blockchain ledgers, rapid DNA sequencing, and AI gate analysis finally make the physical jewel heist mathematically impossible, what happens to these highly organized paramilitarized syndicates?
That is the real question. They won't just retire. Criminal organizations with that level of logistical capability are highly adaptable businesses. If a market closes, they pivot.
Exactly. So if they can't physically ram an Audi into a mall anymore, will the next smash and grab be entirely digital?
It's very likely.
Instead of training veterans to use disc cutters, will they recruit elite state-sponsored hackers? Will a crew use those exact same synchronized shock and awe tactics to violently breach a decentralized finance exchange? Stealing our identities, draining our digital assets, and erasing our family's life savings from a server on the other side of the world?
A digital landscape where there are no cameras to analyze their gait.
Exactly, and where absolutely no DNA can ever be left behind on a discarded salami sandwich wrapper.
It's the next inevitable frontier of the global arms race. The battleground just moves from the marble floors of the Galerie d'Apollon to the invisible architecture of the cloud.
Something to definitely keep you up at night. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking closely at the details, and we'll catch you next time.